I'd like to call up for speaker number one, Mr. Jack Bevere. Jack's been kind enough to provide a brief introduction about himself that I will share with you all. He first joined Toastmasters about 150 years ago. I apologize. 50 years ago. And he's been a member in Florida, California, and here in Washington State. He's quick to remind us that very little has changed. The agenda, the manuals, officers' positions are basically all the same. But he has noticed that speakers don't talk as loud as they once did. In fact, some speakers always. With this evening's speech, Hard of Hearing, I'd like to welcome to the podium Jack Bevere.
Nearly 36 million Americans are hard of hearing. It's the third most common health problem in the United States. Have you ever watched or chuckled when you see some old people fumbling for their hearing aids? I have. When I was in college, I worked in a hotel. We had a Beltone Hearing People had a office up on the mezzanine. We would stand there at the front desk and we would see these old people making their way across the lobby. And my coworker would push me aside. And as the people approached the desk, he would say, "Good evening, sir. How are you today?" "May I help you?" "Oh, you want the Beltone Hearing People? They're across the lobby and up the elevator!" We used to get a real chuckle out of that. In a sadistic sort of way. Hearing loss is a growing problem. MedMD says that it starts in the 20s, accelerates in the 40s, and nearly 13% of any audience is hard of hearing. Speakers make 4 mistakes in dealing with this problem. The first mistake is they don't find out if their audience can hear. You know, they don't test the audio equipment before they start. Or they don't speak to the group and say, "Can everybody hear me?" The second mistake they make is they allow people to sit too far away from where they are. If they're in a big room, they let them sit clear back. When you're speaking, you want the group in close as you can get. You want to encourage the hard of hearing people to come up front if you can do it subtly. Many audiologists suggest that people that are hard of hearing sit no more than 12 feet away from the sound equipment, from the PA system. The third mistake they make, if I can remember it, the third mistake is not giving visual cues to your audience. As people grow hard of hearing, they unconsciously start lip reading, and they smile, and they shake their head at the proper time. You know, when everybody else laughs, I laugh along with them. It works out pretty well. And they learn to sort of go with the flow with what they think happens. You know, it's like the doctor was walking across the mall and he saw one of his elderly patients, and the old boy had a good-looking gal with him. And he said, "Well, how are you this afternoon?" He said, "Oh, Doc," he says, "I'm doing great." He says, "That prescription you gave me was just great." And the doctor said, "Well, what was that?" And he said, "Well, you told me to get a hot mama and be cheerful. No, 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 no. I told you you had a heart murmur. Be careful. A friend of mine came up to me the other day and said he had the latest technology in hearing aids, that he could just hear just about anything, that any sound around. And I asked him what kind it was. He looked at his watch and said, it's 12:30. There are these three hard of hearing guys. We're out on a blustery, windy day like this, and the first guy says, it's windy today. And the second guy says, no it isn't, it's thirsty. And the third guy says, me too, let's go have a drink. The fourth mistake speakers make, it has to do with masking. Masking is when one sound overrides another. To prevent masking, you want to make sure you have your audio-visual equipment as far away from the audience as you can. You want to ask the hotel not to vacuum the room next door while you're speaking. You want to try to keep the people in the hallway quiet. And of course you want to stop talking when the wind blows. And most of all, I would suggest for all you Toastmasters who are in this for the leadership program, that when you're booking a hotel, when you're booking facilities for a room, that you listen very closely to what the hotel or the management people have to say. When I first started in the hotel business, I was being taught how to sell banquets. So the ladies from the Navy Postgraduate School in Monterey, California came, the officers' ladies, the officers' wives. Now you got to understand that the Navy Postgraduate School is top drawer. 95% of the flag officers in the Navy went to the postgraduate school. And you don't go there unless you've been to Annapolis. And all their wives come from the proper colleges around. Well, they were going to have a poetry contest, a poetry reading for their luncheon meeting. And we had a little raised alcove off the dining room. Then the lady comes in and she says she wants to rent this for the meeting. And my manager says, well, let me show you some of our other rooms. So we did, no, we want this. And he says, well, gee, we have an elderly couple that has lunch in the dining room every day, and sometimes they talk a little loudly. She insisted. He tried everything he could. He reduced the price in the other rooms, he raised the price in the alcove, did everything he could to get her. Well, they're having their poetry reading. Lady Jack Lang, who lived on the 9th floor, who had lived there for 20 years, she and her husband, Punchy, come down the elevator, and she's dressed to a T. Hat, hose, heels, the whole bit. She sits down at her little table next to the window with the flour and the linen. They're sitting there eating, and this lady's up there reading her poetry. Punchy, what are they doing? The reading stops. The reading starts again. Punchy, what are they doing? Needless to say, the officers' wives were very unhappy. So I suggest if you're booking a facility and the management mentions anything like that to you, that you hear what they have to say. Mr. Toastmaster.